Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the AVS Show, coming straight to you from New York City. If this is your very first time watching us, make sure to subscribe to our channel. And after the show, go on Instagram
and follow the ABS Show.
What's there, Glitz?
The ABS Show, there's hot gist that we don't even discuss in the place.
Yes.
Okay? And then there's extra photos and extra wuru. Make sure you are going there.
All right, so throughout the conversation, you can join in as well by commenting below. So, Glitz, you have the topic for today. What are we talking about?
Something that continues to plague Africa, which is a new documentary just dropped on CNN called Troubled Waters, which is covering the child trafficking and child labor at Lake Volta in Ghana.
Oh, Troubled Waters? It's been out
called
for a while
Troubled Waters,
now.
but now it's just gotten picked up and people are talking about it. So, according to statistics, 57.6% of children working on the Volta are trafficked and forced to do labor. And the average age is 6 years or younger. Can you imagine? And female children, of course, are extra victimized as well because they're trafficked and it goes beyond what is happening. So can you imagine you having a child of that age being forced to work on a fish? And this is not easy work. This is like nets. This is like very dangerous work. The kids could drown. Are they teaching them to swim? There's so many layers to this. And the thing about it is that until somebody comes and shines the light, so I know the government in Ghana knew about it, right? Or whoever, the people that are in charge of fishing and everything know about this. Why is this happening and why is this continuing? And why does CNN have to come in and shine a light for us to see it and for it to come back? I have a video, actually, that talks a little bit about it.
I just want to emphasize that the purpose of this documentary isn't to shame any one country. Slavery happens in every single country around the world. Every single country on earth has some issue when it comes to slavery within its borders. But, you talk about hoping that it will spark a discussion. That's one thing in terms of what you hope the reaction will be from Ghanaians, but what do you think their reaction will actually be?
Well, I think the reaction will be, first of all, when it comes to the Volta, the Volta Lake, I mean, this is a 5,000 kilometer, coastline, with about 1,200 villages all along the coast, and fishing also being the main economic, source of livelihood for everybody who lives, on the shores of the lake. So there are, things that go on there that it's very hard a lot of times to really keep an eye on what's going on the ground.
So how do you guys feel about this? What do you think?
So this is happening. So they are saying it's happening in Ghana. So can I just chime in first?
It's all over child trafficking is all over.
That's
Africa,
what I wanted to say.
World.
Child slavery is around us every day. Everybody does it. It's all around the world, and it's not. Obviously, we don't support that. For me, I believe that every child should be in school, education, should be cared to until the age of 18, whatever the case might be. My only issue here is who is telling the story. Now, I'm from Volta region. I'm from the same place that this is happening. And I see this all the time. I see kids going with their parents to fishing. I see kids going to the farm with their family. Now, is that slavery? Because slavery is when somebody is being forced to work and being restricted by their freedom. My only issue, because when I was looking into this story, it was a little fishy to me, that CNN will go to Ghana with their camera crew to expose these little kids and saying that they are being enslaved, when most of them actually was a choice for them to go, because fishing was like it was a passed down generational job. So your grandfather did it, your father is doing it, and then they are teaching their younger ones to do it. So I mean, it was a little weird for me, especially like in the middle of the documentary, they went to the camp that they were talking about, and only saved 3 people. Now, if you really care about these kids, and you're going in, you're saying that they are being enslaved and being trafficked, why are you only saving 3? You went there with the camera crew and the police people and only saved 3 people? Like, it really didn't make sense to me. So I think, so the story is we should focus on child slavery everywhere, and not just what is happening in
definitely. I definitely want to understand why a lot of African governments still allow this. I'm talking about Africa in general, because our show is about Africa. That it happens all the time in so many different countries, and what is the government doing on the ground to make sure that they're stopping this from happening? Because it literally continues to happen, and the narrative is the same across the world. But
yeah, and also maybe the expose on that region actually might be in a bid to create awareness as well. So do you have schools there?
Of course, we have schools everywhere. We have schools there. We have schools in the villages. We have schools everywhere. The problem is some of them can't afford to take their kids to school.
Yeah.
One of the mothers they interviewed said she actually took the child to the camp because they are so poor. They don't have any money.
Yeah.
So she wanted the young boy to start learning how to fish.
Isn't school free in Ghana?
Public schools are.
So
Yes.
why can't they take the kids to school?
You still have to buy uniform. You still have to
Books.
buy school the shoes, the
Supplies.
books, and literally they are poor. They can't afford
And it
that.
still boils down to the government, coming, on this situation and doing something about it. If the schools are expensive, then they have to make it free for the kids. Because right now, it's almost as if 80% of the time is being spent on fishing. That's all they do, like morning
That's
till
all
night,
they know.
every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
according to Engage Now Africa and even Ghana Web, they say that most of the kids are enslaved.
Yes.
Because they have what they call slave masters.
Yes.
So when you take a child between the age of 6 to 14 and you push them into that job to become a fisherman or a fish boy and to work with a master against their own wish, isn't that some form of slavery?
Well, the thing is, regardless of whatever it is that you're putting a child into, a lot of times they always oppose it. So do you say that it's you sending a child to school and a child opposing to go to school is slavery?
Yeah, but the rigorous activity of fishing that they teach them or take them through, even to the extent of teaching them or pushing them to dive down into the river
dive.
to cast the nets or to catch the fish, and some of them get injured, some of them die. Are they ready for that?
Okay, so I'm not saying that it's okay that they have to go through all of this, but going by what Charlie has said regarding the inability to fund the kids to go to school, what would you have the parents do? Have the kids sit at home and not do anything at all?
So
'Cause
we are
they- I mean,
saying,
the option
we're
of them
saying
going to
giving them to
school-
masters because, I mean, it's,
Okay, so
it's somehow,
is that
I'm not
pres-
saying it's slavery, but I'm trying to relate it to other
50%.
cases
I
where
understand.
where you push kids into doing something like that, pushing them to a master,
Right,
and then
yeah,
they
but that's
live
the
with
thing.
those people and learn those stuff.
They're terming it as master. You're terming it master, but it's actually apprenticeship.
Yes.
That's the direct way to look at it. You're sending a child to go learn a trade, a vocational training, which is an option. Which is an option to going to school. If you can't go to school, go learn something, a skill. That's a skill development that you're sending a child to go do.
At
The person
at
impacting.
Some
But
of
they
them-
do it
some
here
of them
too.
get
Don't
to
we
lose
have
their lives, though.
Don't we have children working here in this country? We have children, child stars. They're into movies. They're
Right.
still working.
But they're privileged. You can't compare apples to oranges. Like you can't compare apples to oranges.
But that's
Somebody
what
that's
they know.
privileged,
This is
that's
what they
getting
know,
meals.
though.
I understand that they know that, but the thing about it, if it's against their will and they're taking the kids and they're forcing them to be slaves, 50% are slaves. Maybe 50% are not, and they're working with their parents. But 50% of these kids are being forced to do slave stuff.
So let me
they don't
say
have their
this to you.
parents looking after them.
I don't
So let me
think
say-
anything
so
like
let me
that.
say this to you then.
One thing I want you to take off that word forced because you're saying
Yeah, it
you're
is forced.
It is not forced.
It is reported that it's forced.
Hold
In the United Nations, everything,
All right,
it has
let
been vetted. It is forced labor.
The word
So what is force?
making someone do something against their will, right? But the child doesn't have a say. The parent is who has a say. The parent is the guardian of that child. Whatever the parent says is what goes for a child up until the age of 18. Now, the parent is with the whole idea of the child going for apprenticeship. All right?
Yeah.
They didn't take the child out of, they didn't steal the child out of the parents. The parents gave the children to these people to train
Some
them.
of
Not-
these kids,
not
some of
in
these kids
all
are taken.
cases, not in
Some
all
of these kids
cases.
are taken, sweetie. They
According
are
to
taken.
studies, not
These
in
are
all
not just
cases.
kids
Where
that
were
are
they taken
given.
from? They were taken-
But they
they
were
were
taken from one of the villages or whatever. They're not just like, oh, they're taking these kids
Without the
and not
knowledge
saying,
of the
oh, we're gonna.
parents?
They're not.
Yeah.
They're taking them.
So finish what because some of these
Yeah.
kids were taken. They weren't taken from a privileged home. Some of these kids were taken from the streets. They have no mothers. Their dad is dead, and they were taken to camps to learn how to fish. You have to understand who is narrating this story.
But the
Right.
thing about it is that the shit.
Bro, they were
Go ahead.
taken from the streets to learn how to fish.
Yes.
The masters make money off
Slavery.
the fishes that they catch. The masters
don't pay
send
them.
their own kids to school.
They don't pay
These
these
kids
kids.
continue fishing
They feed
for
them.
the next couple of years.
So you think
And
it's
all
okay
they
to
get
feed
is
them?
maybe breakfast or lunch and dinner or all
It's
three
okay
of
to
them.
feed people
They
that are
make no
working?
money. So what do you call that?
I'm
Apprenticeship?
not saying it's right. That's not what I'm saying.
That's
here.
the thing.
I'm not saying it's right at all. I'm just saying the way they constructed this story made it seem like things like this is not happening around the world.
Right.
Okay, so let me take it back to the movie star that start as a kid.
Yeah.
You know it does affect them, right? Like we have several examples of child stars that grow up and they become a
Psychologically,
mess
yeah,
psychologically.
yeah.
So it's the same thing. Some of these kids, when they grow up, they become, good fishermen, and they're fishing and they're making their own money.
That's if they grow up. Some
They
die.
die.
Yeah.
A lot of
A
them
big
die.
percentage of them die.
The child stars here also take drugs and they die.
But there's percentages
But
way
your
less than the
parents
percentage
even
of the
make
kids
money. The
getting
child
lost in
stars,
that
their parents
water.
make money off it.
The
right?
kids on the street that it took to those camps, if they're on the streets, eventually they die. From running in traffic, from taking drugs, from running with the background. Listen, Glitz,
are not saying it's
wait,
right.
you're making the face like I'm saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm trying to make you understand that there are other sides to
the
this
story.
narrative
So
that is
then
being
why
given.
can't why can't the government or whoever's in charge create foster
That's the-
programs,
that's the question
adjunctive
now.
programs? We
Right.
cannot. There's no way in hell I'm going to sit here and accept the fact that these kids, they're getting picked up the street to go and be put into forced labor, that's okay. And these kids had the chance, 70% chance of dying, 70% chance of getting infected. They're not infected with diseases and everything. Like, there's so many layers to this. They get hurt. They don't have medical care. Like, what are we talking about right
I'm not
now?
saying it's okay though.
Well, let's hear from Max.
The government really have to intervene right now because it's from the parents. And the parents, you can't even blame them. That's the situation surrounding that area as well too. So the government needs to come on board and do something about this immediately. And also, I don't see the expose from CNN in that region as a malicious, act or anything. It's probably, I think it's a good thing they actually shine a light on that.
Why can't we blame the parents?
What?
Why can't we blame the parents? Did you say we can't blame the parents?
Well, two sides to the story as well, like I'm talking about, because it's obviously like a poor region. And this is the only thing that families know in a way to survive. So if you're poor and then you have a master somewhere who has a very big fishing business, and because this other family who's poor wants to survive, they would willingly send their kids over there to
But what
go
do
and
the
work.
parents gain? They don't even get any
They don't
money
get
back.
That's what
They
I'm
do
saying.
get money.
So
Some
people, yeah, they do.
They get money.
So
that's
you
what
are
I'm saying.
sacrificing your child's future
The government
and making your child a fisherman at the age of 6
The government
for your
needs to-
own,
It's susceptible to
for your
rape.
own
Don't
comfort.
forget about rape.
The
These kids
government-
are getting
yeah,
raped.
that's sending your child.
They're
Different
getting
things
raped.
Now,
happening.
this is where-
It's just all risky. So the government needs to come on board and do something about it. And I'm glad that CNN actually had an expose on this. Maybe this will, get their attention.
Can I just say something? When I
Yeah.
was 10 years old, I was on the street in Accra selling ice water. At that point in our lives, in my parents' lives, we didn't have a lot. We got kicked out from my grandfather's house. Things were very hard. Yeah. Everybody was working at that point. My two sisters went selling things. I went selling things. My dad was working. My mom was working. And this was to bring money to the house. Does that mean my mom sold me into slavery because I was 10 years old and I was working?
That's not slavery.
And selling?
But are you working for your family or you
You're
working for a
working for your
master?
family.
Why are you working
You're
for
not
a
They
working
get
for a
money
master,
back.
exactly.
What the kids are doing, they go home
Back
and they
home.
take money back. I'm telling you, CNN has been trying to crack
Was
this
it
story
comparable?
since 2015 to make it seem like these people are just like bad and they're all this interview, they only interview one person, this baby called Ebenezer. They keep interviewing this one. It's like, I don't understand how you are saying a whole people in the camp slavery and you keep interviewing one person to narrate the whole story.
For everyone.
So in many levels, when we're talking about this situation, it happened across Africa. We've definitely seen our kids, like you said, your story that you mentioned, that you were young, you were outside, you were selling pure water. So think about why is this happening and what can happen for it to stop? Because it can't be a continued narrative that we are still in this place where we haven't moved. What's happening with the resources? Because when we talk about Ghana is one of the rich with resources.
We've argued the part about the slavery. Now let's go further and look at the dangerous part of it. It goes beyond just kids being sold into slave masters. It also goes to the fact that there's child labor going on, there's child endangerment. The parents don't really sit to think about all these things. You having a child go on a boat without the knowledge of the child swimming, and you don't know the child is going to come back. So also in Africa, in Nigeria, you have kids that are being sent on the road to go sell water, like you had to do, and they have to run in traffic in between incoming cars on the expressway trying to sell their goods.
Yeah.
Kids get run over by trucks. Kids get run over by cars. Kids get raped. Kids get robbed.
Yeah.
And the idea of this happening to children, parents don't really go that far. They're concerned about the moment. This is something that they grew up doing. You have parents who have 10 children with the idea in your mind that when the kids get to a certain age, they're going to put them on the coconut plantation to go farm.
Yeah.
That's their own. That's their investment.
Yeah.
All right. So they're not thinking about the adverse effect of this act. So let's look at this angle. Look at it
There's
from
definitely a very blasé attitude when it comes to that. In our countries that we're from, it's very blasé, and it's kind of like people think we're still in the 70s, and the 80s, and early 90s. But now with all these cars that are driving in the road, with all of these people from different walks of life being in the streets, your children are not safe anymore.
Right.
They're children.
Even ritualists and stuff that go
Yes.
on, whether we accept it or
Yes.
not, those things really happen.
Yes,
So
they
there's
do.
so
And,
much danger out there for the
Of
kids.
course, there's just so much a poverty alleviation can do for a country. There should be a lot of poverty alleviation programs that help average families like this at the end of the day, because everything, whether it's slavery or it's not slavery, not still condition they make people go do it that they do.
Absolutely.
You understand,
Yeah,
So the poverty alleviation program will really help families, average families.
Yeah,
out
but it
there.
doesn't really help the
Get
families.
it together.
The politicians, the people in power are the ones that are being alleviated from their riches to more riches. It doesn't get. We can preach this all we want, but we need to actually start to change the mind of our parents, change the way they think and how they see what they're doing, how it's the norm, and make them understand it's no longer the norm. Times have changed, and you have to get with the program.
And then
You
they will
also
tell
have
you
to provide them
what
other
can we
options.
do.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
After school
that's it.
programs.
You have to
After
provide them with
programs,
other
yeah.
options because,
Yeah.
like I said before, that's all they know. There are a
That's
lot
all
of
they
kids like
know.
this. It's not even in the Volta region. If you come to the big city,
Accra.
Accra, Choco, that whole place, they are
Lima,
known for
Tema.
introducing
you
little.
go
You looked
to-
at me when I said Choco, but that's the name of the place. They introduce little kids to fishing at a very young age, and sometimes these kids can't wait to do it. They can't wait to start that hard labor, going into the sea. When they come back, they feel like they've accomplished something. You know.
They have that in Lagos as well too. Makoko. I don't know if you know Makoko.
Makoko,
Close to- yeah,
yes.
they have a lot of that over there.
So to them, it
Yeah.
might be normal,
To-
right?
yeah,
to
that-
them, it might
that's
be
the
something
life-
that it's the culture. And then
That's
when
the
these
life that they
Oyibo
know.
people come in,
Yeah.
what are you doing? At this age, you're going to the sea,
Yeah.
you're going to the forest. This must be some slavery
Yeah.
shit going on.
If you take
You
the
know?
cameras down there, they'll be like,
Wildfire Stone
they will
Plantation
just-
is still in Liberia.
If
Yes.
you take the
Owned by
cameras,
Oyibo.
if you take the cameras down there, the parents will just be like, "What we go do now? Now the only life we will know be this. If we know work, we know go chop."
You know what's crazy?
You understand?
It's crazy
So-
how they can put the term to this. And I'm sorry, I know I'm like straddling this fence. I'm talking about here and I'm talking about the other
Yeah,
side.
it's okay.
But it's crazy how they can put a name to this and put the cameras on this. But these are the same people, the same Oyibo will come to Africa and use children to look for diamonds. So,
Hey, what is
and
that?
then they had full knowledge of that. That's pure, that right there, that was actual
you dive
slavery.
into that-
But that was them using kids, whipping kids till they die when they try to hide
Congo.
diamonds.
Right.
They knew exactly what was going on.
So
they
then what do you
did that.
call what Trump did then? Locking them kids in the cages,
And
Same
separating them
separate them
from their
from their
parents.
Well,
mothers.
yes. See,
What
now-
is that? Did they focus on that? Did CNN focus on that?
yes,
Is
they
it still,
did.
because it's still, is it still
followed
going
it.
on?
No, they
Because
touched
they're
on it
still separating
lightly.
kids.
I followed it. But I think the thing that is good is that it's shining a light on
Light,
the
yeah.
fact that slavery is like slavery,
Child labor is
trafficking is
Endangerment.
still happening all over the world. In Asia, in India, everywhere. It's happening. And in Africa, and of course they are definitely going to countries that are less, less wealthy, like the upper class is
vulnerable.
more than the lower class. So how do we kind of shine the light and let these people know that even like whatever you're going to do, are you even getting paid enough to be able to lose your child?
Yeah.
Like how much
it
money
worth
are
it?
you getting for you to put your life, your child in this thing? And why don't you teach? Like I think it's okay. We do learn apprenticeship. People learn how to sew, do everything. It's fine, but maybe you're the one teaching them,
We're talking
and you're
about-
not giving them to a master
But
or to somebody.
Glitz, we're talking about Africa where you have parents that would give birth to a child and by themselves sell the baby out because they don't have enough to feed. We covered a story on here where a man and a woman sold their a newborn baby because they had 5
Yeah.
children. They sold the 5th baby out because they
Yeah.
wanted money for better life. So like, how do you now begin to convince these people that these children that you have, who they see as their resources, they see those children as investments.
Right.
How do you not convince them not to look at those kids that way and to actually shelter them or cater for them better?
So then how do we change this when this is a norm though? Because yes, there is a law in Ghana that kids can work at the age of 15 and up. So before you can get a job, you have to be
So which
15.
means this fishing stuff is illegal.
It's illegal, but then
Do the parents see it as them working?
are they even educated to know that this is even
they don't
illegal?
have that
They don't know.
mentality.
So they have to make the rule like strict, very very strict. Because the same rules are here as well. You know, you can't work until you're a certain age, but
And
you
also
can
educate the people on the different things. Like like somebody like I know there's a lot of people that are just popping ties and bow ties in minister of this one and minister of this. Why don't they have some of the people go on the ground and do outreach? You just have to outreach to these people and tell them this is some of the things that you can do. This is what you need to learn, because if they don't know, they're not going to know better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Education.
Yeah. Do they have local authorities in that area?
Plenty.
Max, we have everything.
Plenty.
At this point, you ask whether we have education. It's like, is this shade?
hold on.
We have it.
No,
I
it's
told
not.
you.
Charlie,
They went into the camp with policemen.
Okay, now let me tell you the reason why I said that is because sometimes the president has a lot on the table. So if we have local authorities or whatever, I don't know, they should just start
You
somewhere.
don't even need the president to fix those kind
Thank
of
you. So they
issues.
should just start
You don't need
somewhere.
the president.
Charlie, stop looking at me like that. It's not shade.
They went in
This is
there
honest.
with CNN, with the crew, camera crew, with the policemen, went into the camp and only took 3 people. I'm like, everybody there, you are saying they are being enslaved.
Well, you know, what
was so special about those 3 kids that you picked them up?
Because the 3 kids can actually tell the narrative the way they wanted to.
The way they wanted to.
We're trying to offer a solution now. Like, where do we start from to make this, to change this narrative, especially with what Glitz is talking about?
We have to enforce
organizing
the law.
programs, educating parents, and the kids,
and provide an alternative.
setting things in place, structures.
It's important to provide an alternative, an escape route. If you want the kids, these parents who get $300 or $500 from the children being given to their masters,
that's a lot of money, or they don't get that much.
They don't get that much. Is it $500 in
Listen, I have no problem with them trying to do fishing. Okay, if you want to fish, right, let's have a class about fishing, safety fishing. You know how to do it, how to do it right. And then when you graduate, you get your certificate, and then we know you are good. Let's do it like that. You know, because sometimes the kids
also,
want to
no
do
matter
that.
what, the age is still too young.
It's still-
it's
six
not
and
safe.
under.
It's not safe to be jumping into the big river at that age.
Every one of us that was born in Africa knows that there were certain things we had to do or be a part of because of, depending if you weren't born into privilege or a golden spoon in your mouth. But there's times when you're going to say no to certain things for your that happen to your kids. It's safety. Let's think about our kids' safety, because if you do want to rear workers, if it's what you're doing, you want them to live past a certain age, right? If you want to rear your working class, you know, you need to let them live. So just think about what you're putting, where you're putting your kids, what you're putting them up against, and what's going to happen.
Yeah. And it happens everywhere. And I feel like slavery has an image now because of what we've been through in the past.
Absolutely.
When we see something like this, dirty looking and all of that, but there are more than slavery going on. So we also have to look at that, you know? So
there's a good resource, freetheslaves.org. If you want to be a part of helping and stopping child slavery all over the world, you join them, and they really also help in giving people, like when they take people out of slavery, they give them money to start their own businesses, to start to get educated. So it's not just taking you out of slavery and then dropping you somewhere else where you're more than likely going to go back to it. They equip you with kind of the tools to start your own thing and do your own thing. So.
All right.
Before we go, Charlie, about that your pure water business.
Pure water.
It's a pure water business.
I mean, at the age of 10, you were already making money. So I wanted to know, how was your experience
All right,
then?
relax. I wasn't making money now. I only did it for 1 week. But the point is, you guys might laugh, but I have like absolute respect for those people that do it. Listen, it is not easy to stand under that hot weather sun in Africa selling pure water, whereby in the next hour the water is not going to be cold. It's already hot. Nobody will buy. It's like
how was the experience? What did it do for you?
It was very eye-opening for me.
Yes.
Like I learned a lot. Like, you know, I was like, wow, this is what people do. I only did it for one week.
Yeah.
People do this for years and years and years. People will be carrying hot kinky in that hot sun. You know, and then sometimes they'll go and nobody will buy it.
Makes
they have
you
to
thankful.
carry that heavy kinky back home.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, Mars.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not easy.
I know.
It teaches you
I have
resilience.
We're
lived,
with
honey.
you. We're with you.
Yes. So now when I go to Ghana, I don't buy one water, I buy 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Only 2? You should buy the whole thing.
Support
Right.
the kids.
Cheapskate.
So yeah, like, you know, shout out to all those people, by
All
the
the
way,
pure
you know,
fellas.
making, you know,
We're
trying to
with you.
make money.
Petty
But
traders.
yes, let us know in the comment section your thought on these topics.
Please do.
Okay, share your experience as well. We want to hear from you. Until next time, you're watching the ABS show. This is Mina TV. Bye.
Thanks for watching, and if you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you next time.